does get a little bit painful breaking open holes, and eventually it's really inconvenient because if you go on a day that nobody's out there, guess what? You don't get the ice fish that day. So eventually you get a good 6-inch or 8-inch auger from Eskimo. That's right, another shameless plug. And enjoy yourself some holes so that you can ice fish yourself. Those auger blades are not to be messed around with, okay? Those are literally, you will slice your leg open, you will bleed out, you'll have to go to the emergency room, and all you have to do is just barely brush it up alongside of your pant leg. Very easy to do, and I've seen people completely ruin ice suits and completely ruin their day because they were carrying that, they weren't respecting that blade. That blade is one of the sharpest blades that you'll ever get your hands on. You got to make sure you always have your auger cover on, and if you are carrying it, you're carrying it off to the side so that you're not accidentally cutting yourself. All right? Don't cut yourself on the auger. It's not fun. All right, how can I get started ice fishing this season? So you're going to need a rod, okay? Good news is they have them here at Field and Stream, okay? So you can get your rod. Now let's say you buy this rod today. This is actually a pretty sweet rod. Pass that around. I grabbed that rod for a reason, okay? Not that the rods back there are not good, but that's my favorite out of the rods that are here. So if you were to buy a rod today, I recommend this one, okay? Why do I recommend this one? Very nimble tip, all right? Really it's gonna be fun to catch crappie on that rod versus some of the stiffer rods that are back there, okay? And I would not necessarily fish that rod on its own. I'd add these spring indicators on the end. You're like, oh, but Scott, that's a very nimble tip. I should be able to detect bites. I can tell you if you're fishing for crappie and it's an up bite, you're not gonna be able to detect non-suicidal crappie on that rod as it is right now. There's a guy named the Prowler, and he's from Poland, and he actually invented the St. Croix ice bobber, okay, like the St. Croix spring bobber like that. And he says these guys in the industry, okay, they tried to sell you this, right? You know who will bite on that and show you that they bite on that? Suicidal fish, okay? If you see bite on this and it's from a fish, it's a suicidal fish, okay? You want to see light bite? You need spring, okay? You need spring for the light bite. Suicidal fish, you just buy this and you fish this. But you want to see bite? You get the spring, okay? That's the predator, the Prowler. Now the Prowler took those rods, took those springs, put them on St. Croix rods, and for a while, he had the prototypes. Mike McNett had prototypes. Tony Boschold had prototypes, and they started competitive fishing. Nobody else had these rods, okay? Guess who got the national championship when nobody else had those springs on their rods? That's easy. Yeah. And guess who actually won gold in America using those springs on their rods? Mike McNett, Tony Boschold, and the Prowler. So now everyone on the NIFC has the springs on their rods, or they have some type of indicator on their rod. I'm going to pass around this. Please return it. This is actually from Russia. It's actually not sold in America, but this is the type of sensitivity that you get overseas on indicators. So again, if you buy a rod stock today and you do not buy a strike indicator to come with it, that's at your own peril, all right? I'm just trying to help you guys catch more fish. Get the indicators.
This goes in the rod too.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What else are you gonna need? You're gonna need some jigs. Not that many. Just get a handful. Get the chartreuse, the white glow, the black, and the blue. And they've got kits back there of just tons of jigs that you can just buy as starter kits. I grabbed these for a reason, okay? These are what I recommend. So if you are going to think about buying some jigs, I would recommend getting those. Why? They're tungsten. Why is tungsten important? Why is everyone talking about tungsten? It's a pretty dense metal, so if you want to get down and catch more fish more often, you want to get down there quickly, and line diameter will help that as well, okay? So a lot of people are afraid to get away from 4-pound tests when they're ice fishing. Guess what? What pound test do you use for crappie in soft water season?
I mostly bass fish, so I'm using
pretty heavy line. So 4-pound test is what you typically use for crappie in soft water season. dumb that down to 2 pound tests when you're using tiny jigs, because if you float 4 pound tests on that kind of a jig, it's going to literally, the diameter of that line is going to float that jig, and it's going to take forever for it to fall, even as a tungsten jig. The smaller diameter lines, you get the good line, the strong line, that smaller diameter, you can actually get that tungsten to drop faster, which means you get to catch fish more often because the jig's actually in front of their face and not falling, okay? Now, in a situation where it's highly competitive, everyone's fishing tungsten and it's shallow water, I'm putting a little little tiny spoon that actually, I'm using that drop as a selling point to crappie in that area, because everybody else is just down, right? In 5 feet of water, they're down, they're fishing bottom, they're pounding bottom. If you want to be a difference maker, put on just a tiny little lead jig that has no weight to it whatsoever. It's got some metal on the back, and it's got some imprints on the back, so it actually reflects light. Oh, dude, those are dynamite, man. Those are killer. Actually, you know what? Instead of explaining it to you, I actually have a human-sized one right here. That's right. I actually take this out to the mall with me. I take this out to Cabela, Field and Stream with me. I take it everywhere I go, and you know, without it, I'll go up to someone and I'll be like, hey man, I'm Scott Albrecht, and they'll do the exact same thing he's doing. Like, what you doing? And then when I put this on, hey man, I'm Scott Albrecht. Hey, see what I'm talking about? Like, it works for fish and it works for humans too, okay? A little bit of light reflection. I don't know what it does, but I've gotten so many friends on Facebook after getting this into my possession. So I can't give it away today. It's not for sale yet. This is my prototype, okay? But it'll be in stores soon, alright? Yeah, it's dynamite. If you're still dating, alright, okay, yeah, when you're old enough, you know, check that out. Alright, cool. One thing you're going to need that most people forget about when they actually enter in is this guy, okay? Now, I've custom cut this one to fit a 4-inch hole, because overseas when we fish in 4-inch holes, and the typical one that you'd buy off the stock shelf here at Field and Stream, it doesn't really go in very well. So we cut this actually in Rhinelander, Wisconsin last year when I was trying out for Team USA. One of the guys took an auger blade, don't try this at home, and actually custom made me a scoop that will actually go into a 4-inch hole. But this is going to be helpful so that you don't actually have to use your hands to scoop out the slush in your hole. As it is, after you cut your hole, unless you flush it, you're not going to be able to fish through that hole. And even if you do flush it, you have to flush it a whole bunch of times, and in shallow water that will scare fish. So a little scoop that actually goes in and gets the slush out is good. Now, a lot of guys, if they're sight fishing, they want all the slush out of their hole, okay? In St. Clair, when I grew up, I learned to get all the slush out of my hole. It's gonna help your line not freeze up against the side. I found, though, through international competition, some of the guys actually like slush in their hole. When you go down to 1 pound test and lighter, that slush actually helps keep the jig down and the wing from pulling it up outside of the hole. So when you're micro fishing, slush in the hole actually helps keep the line in the hole versus getting blown out by the wind. You take our little 2 fingers, and if you put your fingers in the hole where the line's at, and you push it against the side of the hole, what it does, it actually freezes that slush to the side of the hole, and that's our little good point. Now this, so I passed around that indicator. This one's got a black little grommet that we use to put the indicator through. It enables us to actually put this on the end of any rod. I don't know if you guys felt that other grommet, but it was pretty stiff. And if you got a palm rod that is not stiff, or it's got a little bit wider of a sting, what you do is you end up shaving it down. And it takes forever to shave it down. And if you don't shave it down just the right way, in international competition, you'll be taking forever trying to get the actual grommet to get onto the end of your palm rod. So these little black thingies are a lifesaver. And I just wanted to take that off and actually pass that around. If I pass it to you guys, we promise not to hook into anything like your skin or anything like that. I'm not a very good surgeon, so I don't want to take anything out of you today. But I'm going to pass that around so you can see the sensitivity. There is a live hook on there, and it's tiny, so be careful, okay? That is Tyler Pilkington. If it was on the big screen, I would have told you. He's the guy that caught the catfish on the rod that I just gave away. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Nice guy. All right, so USA, USA, USA. We have never medaled overseas, okay? 2009, we go over to Poland for the first time ever as a team. And we actually go to Poland fishing with stuff that looks like this, okay? And they are all fishing with, this is the Maserati of palm rods, okay? You cannot buy this in America. You cannot find it on eBay. This is a very precious palm rod. I'm gonna pass it around. That one, not precious. This one, you lose it, I'm gonna come seek you out, okay? That's a Maserati of fishing. So we show up with these clunky things, and the Polish guys are like, look at you, Americanos, aha! And we're like, dude, we're here to compete, man. We're here to catch some big fish. And they're like, yeah, sure. And what they did is they actually put us on some lots of land where the fish were only that big, right? We were fishing for minnows, and we didn't know. We showed up with this. Can you see a minnow bite on there? Ooh, no. And so they're using the indicators like the one I'm passing around, and they can see anything. They can see anything. If you hit some dust in the water, it's gonna hit, right? And we're fishing here blind. Okay, we go to the bait inspection. So in the beginning of every term, there's a bait inspection, right? And we get our bait cups out, right? Is that new? And they're like, where's the rest? They have Tupperware bins like this, just chock full of bloodworms. They actually take handfuls of bloodworms and just throw it down the hole. So when we gave them our little bait bucks, they started laughing again. They're like, that's it? Like, it's a 3-hour competition, man. How are you gonna do this? So yeah, so we learned a lot the first time we went overseas to Poland, and the next year it was in the United States because they were so excited about USA joining the World Ice Fishing Championships again. It had been since the early '90s since we've actually been in the World Championships, and back in the early '90s, Tom Grunswold from HT was actually one of the guys on the team. He had a baby face back then, and he actually hasn't changed a bit since then. So when you see Tom Grunswold's TV show, or you see him in his ice fishing magazine, he looks just like he did back in the early 90s. But anyways, we had taken a hiatus from international fishing. Back in the early 90s, we'd go to like Canada, and we fished for the biggest fish out there, right? So when we came to Poland, we were expecting the biggest fish out there wins, and they put us on fish like that. And it was all about numbers, right? So it was all about how fast can you catch a fish on 0.6 line on a 2mm hook and catch it in numbers so that you can weigh more in total fish kilograms at the end of the day, right? So there's no limits. You can catch as many as you want, and they're that big, so you just have to catch numbers, right? So it's all about efficiency. So we're basically putting down, getting a bite, hand over hand, we don't even reel up. Throw the rod, which is why it's shaped like this, so you can actually drag it back through the snow. And then once it gets to the very tip of the hole, you actually let it tip into the hole, and then you grab it like this, leaving no room for error on the line and wind management. The number one thing that keeps you from being efficient on the ice overseas is line management, because you're literally fishing with line the diameter of someone's hair. Right? So when that gets wet and it gets stuck to your hand, or when it starts blowing in the wind and gets stuck on your hair or something like that, it's game over. And worst case scenario, if it gets gummed up on this, you're done. You're done for the day. Basically just chuck it aside and grab another one. And that's why we have so many when we go overseas and we fish internationally. We're rigged up with 12 different rods. And actually what we'll do is we'll have one for fishing, and then we'll have backup rods. And guess how we wear our backup rods?
Back.
On our back? That's a good question. That's a good guess. Schmitty, how do we wear our backup rods? Anyone else have a guess? We reel them up so that the jig is not loose, so it can't hook on anything. Okay? So just kind of like that. We wear them on our heads, 2 at a time. So literally, I could be fishing with one. That one gets gummed up, toss it, grab this one. It already has the indicator rigged, right? So I just pull it out, and you have to know how much is that. You have to actually measure it at home. Mine is about 3.5 feet, but you have to know when I'm pulling out my line, that's 9 feet, right? That's 12 feet. That's 15 feet, right? You have to know that, because when you're fishing overseas, you can't fish with that. You can't drill holes with that. Everything's manual. So the hand augers that we have in America, it's single shaft. you actually turn with one arm. Overseas, they've got the Maseratis of ice augers over there, okay? Very, very sensitive light machines, very angled blades so that when you actually cut ice, you're not shaving ice, you're chipping ice, okay? And they'll actually take the blade stock and they'll actually they'll take the blades off and they'll add an insert and then screw the blades up into the insert so it's an even more severe pitch. So literally, you're shooting out chunks of ice instead of slush out of your hole, so you can drill the hole as fast as possible. And instead of having your hand on top of the auger and doing this to get down, you're actually using both hands at the exact same time, so you go down twice as fast. I actually had Finbore 3, and there's a video on me online. If you Google search Scott Albrecht ice fishing, I was doing an on ice seminar last year. 1,000 people showed up, and the news showed up, and they're like, "Hey, tell us about international ice fishing." I was like, "Tell you about international ice fishing? How about I show you?" And I was like, "Time me. I'm gonna drill a hole as fast as I possibly can using this Finbore 3. I told you it's a Maserati, right? Don't floor Maserati. Okay, I drilled that hole so fast, 4 seconds I drilled a hole in, I blew the top off of the Finbore. Literally came off, broke off. I had to call Crossroads because I was about to try out for Team USA, and I'm like, I just broke my Maserati. Okay, I'm about to go race with the Maserati. I need the Maserati to win the race. Can you please help me out? And they sent me another end piece that does this. So the first thing I did is I took some tape and I put it over that cap so it never happened to me again, because I was just so jacked. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be on the news, my grandma's gonna see it, I better do this hole fast, you know what I mean? I was like, time me, you know? It's always when you get cocky, that's when bad stuff happens, right? Don't do that. Bad